Ah, the nice guy. The one who replies to everything, explains it all, chases like a needy puppy. Predictable, disposable, like a fast food toy. It comes free and no one remembers it later. Now, the one who ignores. Oh, that guy plants chaos with the same cool vibe as lighting a cigarette at a gas station. He doesn't need to raise his voice, because his silence screams right in her ear. His absence is like a moral hangover. It hits on Sunday and drags through the whole damn week. Nah, today's video isn't about hate. It's about control. Emotional Cold War. Mind game strategy on a Russian chess level. It's about the dude who doesn't get revenge, doesn't send a wall of text rant, doesn't beg for a second shot. He just watches, vanishes, shuts up. And that silence, it's worth more than 1,000 heart-to-hearts, because he gets what 90% of guys refuse to swallow. In this psychological cat and mouse where everyone pretends not to care, the winner is the one with the balls to disappear right when the other craves your presence the most. So jot this down. The man who ignores isn't running away. He's winning. Not with shouts, but with the icy stare of someone who's been humiliated and learned that explaining yourself is for suckers still chasing approval. And before we dive in, let's kill this habit of sucking up free content like it's tap water from a public fountain. Someone before you hit like and subscribed, so pay it forward, smash that button, drop a grateful in the comments. Not for me, but for the algorithm. That's how this verbal smackdown reaches more folks who need a reality check. Now swallow your pride and let's get to the good stuff. Number 1, the lie of attention. Or how to turn yourself into a doormat thinking you're a knight in shining armor. From the cradle, they've shoved this half-baked fairy tale down your throat. Being attentive is a virtue. Caring is cute. Sending good morning texts every damn day is just good manners. And maybe, just maybe, that works in Disney flicks. Because in real life, the guy who doles out too much attention isn't seen as a prince. He's seen as a rug. Predictable, clingy, and bonus, easy to manipulate. The fool doesn't even realize that by replying in the first second, turning into her wake-up call and tour guide through his own routine, he's basically dropping to his knees emotionally, handing out VIP status to someone who, at the very least, should sweat for a spot in the nosebleeds. The fatal mistake. Confusing presence with value. Thinking being available 24/7 makes you more loved, but it backfires hard. What's always there becomes background noise, white static, exhaustion with a social security number. Women don't value what's constant. Her brain, just like yours, doesn't latch onto the obvious. It clings to the rare, the vanishing act, the unexplained, the stuff that leaves more questions than answers. In other words, attention without scarcity is emotional charity, affection on an overdrawn account. You're sabotaging yourself with a grin and a leash around your neck. And the more you try to please, the more you morph into the kind of guy she skips over like closing a YouTube ad. Quick, guilt-free, and forgotten in a flash. Attention without distance isn't charm. It's boredom smelling like desperation. Number 2, silence as a psychological weapon, or how to say everything without opening your mouth and still get a standing ovation. When a man goes quiet, he's not just holding back words, he's unleashing demons in her head. And the worst part? Those demons have his face. Silence, my dude, is the black hole of the female ego, an emotional vacuum where control, predictability, and certainty used to rule. And what do humans hate most? Exactly, the unknown void. Because when you stop replying, she doesn't stop thinking. She scripts dramas, tragedies straight out of a Greek play. All penned by anxiety and directed by wounded pride. Silence bugs her because it yanks away her emotional GPS. While you're talking, she's got the map. While you're explaining, she knows the lay of the land. But when you clam up, oh, then she's lost in a maze she builds herself, brick by brick, with every what if, every doubt, every paranoid thought. And the best part, silence is versatile as hell. It can be coldness, superiority, disdain, and sometimes all three at once. But one thing, it's never neutral. Because while you ghost, she searches. While you shut up, she feels. While you turn into a mystery, she becomes the hostage. The guy who masters this art doesn't need to throw a tantrum or threaten to bail like a sulky kid. He just steps back. And in that precisely calculated retreat, he builds the emotional terror tripod: respect, desire, and doubt. Because silence, buddy, is the one language her ego doesn't speak. And that's exactly why. It cuts the deepest. Number 3, the pain of disdain. Or how to shatter an ego with a silent, who gives a fuck. Disdain isn't about making a scene. It's not yelling, kicking up a fuss, or cursing her out on WhatsApp at 3 a.m. That's amateur hour for the emotionally starved. Real disdain is an art form. It's crossing someone's soul like walking through an empty hallway. No stopping, no looking, no remembering it existed. It's being in the same room and treating her like wallpaper, staring into her eyes just to drive home that they mean jack shit anymore. Because disdain doesn't make noise, it wreaks havoc. No external bleeding, but it rots from the inside out. And this is where most guys slip up big time. They think disdain is cowardice, that silence is losing ground. When really, disdain is the self-destruct button on someone else's self-esteem. It's not fighting back, it's declaring irrelevance, and that hurts 1,000 times worse. While you're clapping back, you're still in the game. While you're justifying yourself, you're still kneeling at her pride's altar. But when you stop responding, when her presence becomes scenery and her name doesn't even echo in your mind, that's when you twist the knife. You're not worth my time anymore. And for someone who once thought she had you wrapped around her finger with crumbs of attention, that's unbearable. It's the illusion crumbling. It's the mirror cracking without a sound but shattering the whole image. Because the game only exists as long as there's reaction. When you freeze, you kill the game. Kill the fun. Starve her ego to death. Disdain, when done right, doesn't attack. It evaporates. And what vanishes without reason, my friend, turns into obsession. Disdain isn't revenge. It's the art of becoming untouchable. Number 4, the mystery that enslaves the mind, or how to become an addiction without handing out the first hit. What you don't understand, you crave. Simple as that. And the guy who gets this plays on hard mode, while the rest are still sending "Good morning, princess." He doesn't explain himself, doesn't spill his guts, doesn't become a repeat sticker. He walks wrapped in a silence that's more like a Sphinx riddle. Because when she doesn't know what you feel, she starts feeling it for you. And when she's unsure if you like her, she turns into a juggler trying to impress. Mystery is an invisible leash. It tethers the ego, the thoughts, the time. And the more she tries to figure it out, the deeper she sinks. Because you're not an open book. You're a puzzle without the box and missing pieces. The mysterious guy doesn't need to act arrogant or fake a bad boy Instagram pose. He just doesn't give free access to his soul. Doesn't open his diary to someone who hasn't even read the intro. Doesn't hand over the movie script to folks still in line for tickets. He leaves blanks, and her brain anxious, proud, validation hungry fills them with fantasies, doubts, paranoias. The story she spins about him is always more gripping than the reality any other dude lays out. That's why the predictable man becomes an ex, but the mysterious one becomes a ghost that haunts, gone for years, but still squatting rent-free in her thoughts. Because mystery, unlike social media lovey-dovey, doesn't die with time. It ferments, it grows, it becomes legend. And legend, buddy, never leaves the head. Number 5, when you vanish. She suffers, and it's not drama, it's an internal meltdown with an Instagram filter. Vanishing isn't cowardice, it's strategy. Cowardly is begging for replies in her inbox while she's busy flirting with the next sucker in line. Now, the man who disappears with purpose, that's the architect of emotional chaos. Too much presence gets old. Selective absence brands you, brands with a hot iron on the soul. When you truly ghost, no theatrics, no games, just because you valued yourself. She starts melting inside, but on the outside, oh, it's Oscar-worthy. Cryptic captions, happy and thriving pics, stories with gourmet shade. But she expected the usual script. You desperate, you begging, you clowning emotionally. What did she get? Silence. Ice. Nada. And that nothing hurts the most, because the absence of someone who was once everything turns into an existential void. She starts wondering if you've forgotten, if you've recast her role, if you ever felt anything, and you, still in elite ghost mode, untouchable, unreachable, cruel without a word. Because the truth is straightforward. Women handle rejection. Women survive betrayal. But doubt devours. Why didn't he come back? Why didn't he stoop like the others? Those questions echo in her ego, and there's no peace where that kind of silence lives. So if you're fed up with being the doormat for her self-esteem, with playing extra in her romance, wake-up time is now. Scroll down to the description, grab the digital book, and learn once and for all how to be cold, calculated, and unbreakable. Not to hurt, but to never get stepped on again. No more begging for respect. Start being the kind of man she can't forget. The one she fears losing. The one she can never crack. The tables have turned, champ. Now you're dealing the cards. And if she can't handle your absence, let her learn to deal with the emptiness. Number 6, the hypothetical reunion, or how to bury her ego with an emotionless, hey, she'll come back. They always do. Even if it's with that classic, hey stranger, pretending to be casual, or liking your pic from 2019 that even your mom forgot existed, or accidentally bumping into you with a rehearsed smile. But she returns, because her ego wants to check if it still rules. And that's where the average guy folds, thinks it's fate, opens his heart, opens WhatsApp, opens the emotional hell all over again, forgets the ice, forgets the disdain, forgets all the pain for a rematch in the same ring. But the man who owns the game is already off the board. He doesn't play anymore. He's won. So he doesn't flinch, doesn't delude himself, doesn't rush to reply like a needy pup. He sees the reunion for what it is, a test, an emotional X-ray to see if you're still the same accessible fool, or if you've become a man she can't reach even with a ladder. And in that moment, no need for revenge, no speeches, just be surgical, a you good. That sounds colder than a doctor's waiting room, a glance that passes through without stopping, a reply that shuts it down like nailing a coffin. You don't need to yell. Just show that door. It's locked from the inside and the keys trashed. Because what really crushes her pride isn't your anger, it's your calm, realizing the man who once lowered himself for her now won't even bend to look. And the reunion becomes exactly that. The funeral of the emotional control she thought she still had. And you're chill. The perfect headstone. Number 7, the value of scarcity, or how to be gold in a world full of cheap emotional knockoffs. What's rare shines. What's easy gets boring. And the guy who gets that stops acting like a kid's meal prize. He's not there for everyone. Doesn't reply in real time like a call center rep. And above all, doesn't gush over any compliment with an emoji. He figured out that time is a resource. Presence is an investment. And attention, buddy, is luxury currency. Anything valuable has limits. No limits? You're dead stock. Most guys mistake, acting like clearance sale merch. Show everything, give everything, hand it all over, then whine that no one values it. Of course not. You were on the easy access shelf between be right back and maybe later. The scarce man, though. He's a puzzle for her neurons. He doesn't just spark desire, he commands respect. Because he has what 90% of the competition lacks: standards. He doesn't settle for emotional crumbs wrapped in a bow. Doesn't melt over hey stranger. Doesn't get hyped on recycled likes. And key, he knows being hard to reach is the ticket to being remembered forever. Scarcity breeds effort. Effort breeds interest. Interest turns into obsession. While the abundant guy becomes emotional wallpaper, the scarce one becomes an enigma. And enigmas, you know, stick in the mind indefinitely. She steps out of line. He vanishes. She disrespects. He slams the door. She tries to dominate. She loses. Because he's not there to be controlled. He's there to be chosen. If and when he wants. And then she gets it. He's not arrogant. He's selective. And being selective in a world of desperate validation seekers is the ultimate power a man can wield. Number 8. Ignoring is dominating, or how to silence the world with the grace of someone who just doesn't give a damn anymore. True dominance has no yells, no threats, no TikTok alpha male theatrics. It's self-control, surgical chill. And the man who ignores like a pro isn't heartless, he's wise. Because he gets the golden rule: reply to everything and you burn out. React to everything and you lose yourself. Give attention to every BS and you become your own distraction. He's not cold by accident, he's cold by choice. Because he knows not every jab deserves a spotlight, not every woman deserves one, and not every situation deserves his energy. While the rest chase, clap back, justify, crawl. The dominating man watches from the VIP box, silent, unshakable, deadly. He doesn't play the game, he unplugs the board. Ignoring isn't cowardice. It's a luxury filter. It's saying with a look what 1,000 rants never could. You're not worth my time. And when that silence repeats, it becomes law. Law that frees you from emotional begging, from notice me syndrome, from needing to prove your worth to someone who treats you like leftovers. Ignoring consistently is the most brutal form of emotional dominance. You stop chasing answers and realize silence was all you needed to hear. And the best? This vibe is so rare, so wild, so off the grid of average relationships that when a woman meets a man like this, she freezes. Not from fear, but because she realizes too late she lost control. He didn't yell, he didn't beg, he didn't break anything, he just ignored. And in the echo of that silence, she heard her own defeat. Number 9, the psychology of female rejection, or how to make her ego implode without lifting a finger. The modern woman, addicted to attention, raised on likes and emoji showers. She's got a lineup of idiots ready to crawl for a dry high. She knows she can ghost, test, treat like crap, and there'll always be a fool online waiting. What does that give her? An inflated ego like a kid's party balloon, big, fragile, full of hot air. But there's one thing that bloated ego can't handle: being ignored. And not by some nobody, but by the man she was sure she had in her pocket. Because when the predictable one rejects, she yawns and moves on. But when the guy who seemed mesmerized just vanishes, no drama, no note, no audience, her mind turns into a war zone. Rejection from a strong, cold, centered man isn't just absence, it's an emotional earthquake. The ego's ground cracking, her mirror splintering without warning. A woman rejected by a weakling feels anger. Rejected by a cold man feels doubt. And doubt, buddy, is gourmet poison. It erodes slowly, quietly, until her pride blows up. She starts replaying everything, every chat, every comma, every moment, turning into a stalker of her own history, trying to pinpoint where she lost the control she thought was forever. Because the worst rejection isn't screamed, it's imposed in silence. No text, no explanation, no siren, just the void. And in that void, she loses her ego's biggest fix: certainty. The certainty that with a snap of her fingers, you'd come running. But you didn't. And that's when she realizes the game's over. And this time she didn't win. Number 10, betting on silence as a lifestyle, or how to become an emotional fortress, while others still beg for likes. Forget tactics, forget seduction games, forget the pathetic "I'll ghost just to see if she misses me." This is deeper. It's philosophy, identity. It's deciding your silence is worth more than any crumb of attention. The man who makes silence his lifestyle isn't playing hard to get. He just realized arguing is wasted energy, justifying is spotlighting the wrong crowd, and reacting to bait is dancing to someone else's tune. He doesn't shut up out of pride, out of strategy. Shuts up because every word given to the unworthy is a chunk of soul thrown away. He doesn't yell to show strength, doesn't argue to prove right. He just doesn't wear himself out. This guy's a rare breed, picky about who he talks to, who he hangs with, who he shares even silence with. Because he saw what few do. Real power isn't imposing, it's not stooping. Silence became his shield. Code of conduct. Natural barrier against others' emotional mess. He's not available to everyone, and especially not to those who ditched him once. Life shifts when you get that you don't need to answer everything, that ignoring beats confronting, that vanishing sometimes screams, "I value myself," without a sound. And when this becomes who you are, not who you fake, you're uncontrollable. Because you're out of the game, and men who don't play are the only ones who don't lose. Number 11, the unreachable man, or how to make her obsessed without twitching a muscle. She might find you hot, might even remember the killer kiss, the easy chat, the scent of your shirt. But if you're too easy, if you're always there, ready, grinning, available, congrats. You've become a free pharmacy sample, useful for 5 minutes, then trash. Because looks don't hold respect. Charm doesn't lock in interest. What does? That damn unreachability. The feeling you're close, but not quite. That you could bail any second. That she doesn't have the reins. A guy who's too easy becomes emotional furniture. Always there, static, predictable. And predictable in the attraction game means disposable. Now the man who vanishes at the right time, who says no without flinching, who ends the convo when she wants more, he becomes an enigma, and women love enigmas. Her brain goes into overdrive trying to crack what she can't grasp. Because the unreachable doesn't need to drop off the map. He just doesn't act like a notification-hungry pup. He replies when he feels like it, not when summoned. Shows up when he wants, not when expected. He's rare, and rare becomes emotional treasure. She might pretend not to care, strike a pose, throw ice, but inside, doubts feasting on her ego. Does he still want me? Did I lose the guy I thought was mine? Has he forgotten me already? All because you did the unthinkable. Stripped her of your predictable comfort. You put yourself on a level where she has to earn it, not just show up. And what does she learn? The unreachable man isn't arrogant. He just knows his worth. He doesn't chase attention. He has it. He doesn't need approval. He's the exception. And in a world of desperates, the exception always rules. Number 12. The transformation of the cold man, or how to rise from humiliation with an armored heart and a soul on mute. Every guy who's been rejected, ghosted, humiliated like a background extra in her life story hits an emotional fork. Either become a sentimental zombie obsessing over mistakes, or rebuild in the shadows and return as a ghost no one dares ignore. The chill that follows isn't anger, not grudge, it's clarity. Cruel, sharp, final clarity. The realization that giving too much kills respect. That one-sided romance is just suicide with a country ballad soundtrack. From there, a new man emerges, not bitter-armored. A man who doesn't need to yell he's changed because his absence shouts it. A man who doesn't argue because his silence ends it. A man who doesn't return because self-respect means not repeating pain. The payoff? The world starts bending to the presence it once overlooked, because the world respects those who stop begging for respect. Plain and simple, the cold man isn't empty. He just got tired of handing his heart like free Wi-Fi. Use, abuse, disconnect without notice. He still feels, but doesn't crawl. He still wants, but doesn't bend. He still loves, but never again humiliates himself. This shift isn't about payback. It's about drawing the line, stopping the offer of salvation to someone who treated your heart like lost luggage. It's about seeing that being too accessible made you invisible. And now, unreachable, you've become legend. In the end, the cold man isn't cruel. He's lucid, and lucidity, buddy, makes him the true master of the game. Brutal conclusion, or how to shut down her ego with the sound of your absence. She swore you'd crawl back, that you'd chase with your tail between your legs, that you'd fire off an emotional novel begging for scraps. Because in her head, you were still the same. That accessible, predictable, needy dude. The emotional bench warmer always ready to sub in. But then, you didn't reply. You didn't show. You didn't say a word. And that's exactly when the tables flipped. No yells, no scenes, no one last chance. Because the man she thought she owned became a riddle. The emotional doormat she figured she controlled became absence. And the void you left didn't fade, it stuck in her head like an echo, a reminder, an open wound without closure. You didn't try to prove anything. You didn't beg. You just withdrew with the chill of someone who learned the ultimate lesson. Responding is lowering yourself. And in that silence, you said it all. Said you won't return. Said you don't feel what you felt. Said that now you call the shots. And her. She feels. She watches. She tries to decode. But access denied. Password changed. And the game she swore she ran became an arena where she doesn't know the rules. Because the man who ignores isn't cruel. He's free. And in this world of emotional beggars, emotional freedom is the highest throne. You won, not by winning her, but by finally winning yourself. And that is something she'll never have.